Your cross has spoken mercy over me, over me. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart could fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Powerful, so powerful, your glory fills the skies. Your mighty works displayed for all to see, all to see. The beauty of your majesty awakes my heart to sing. How marvelous, how wonderful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore, beautiful one my soul must sing. Faithful love flowing down from the thorn-covered crown makes me whole, saves my soul, washes whiter than snow. Faithful love calms each fear, reaches down, dries each tear, holds my hand when I can't stand on my own. Faithful love, from above, came to earth to show the Father's
Welcome back, everyone, as we come to Psalm 58 this Thursday. And I have to admit, as we're making our way through, I guess everyone has their favorite passages, their favorite books and whatnot. I have to say, this might be my favorite psalm that we've covered thus far. Largely because of the I guess you could say the intense emotion in it, but also I love the imagery that you find here. There's a number of imagery relating to animals. Have some children who would certainly love that, I'm sure. But Psalm 58. So for one thing, the superscription tells us that it's a Psalm of David, like most of them are. Most people assume, I suppose it's an assumption really, that the timing, the occasion for it is the same as the previous two Psalms. They, of course, had to do with David's flight from Saul in Gath on one occasion, in the cave on the other. I don't know if that's true or not. I personally see absolutely no reason to think that. But you can certainly see, as we'll get into the Psalm itself in a few minutes, why it could easily fit either of those, as David is being pursued by people, and you get a little insight here into perhaps what he thinks about them. But this one is one of, as Brother Waycaster notes here, one of 9 imprecatory psalms. And we've talked about this before. Imprecatory psalms that are calling for vengeance, even for violence to be visited upon one's foes. And we've seen on many occasions, I try to call it out as we go through. You get maybe a verse here and there. You get kind of like a little flavor of an imprecatory psalm, where he's calling upon God to deal with those who are causing him trouble. But this one, Psalm 58, is a true blue imprecatory psalm from beginning to end. And again, it'll be pretty clear as we get into it. Brother Waycaster here has a brief outline, which I'll give you if you're interested in it. I mean, personally, to me, this one just seems rather simple and straightforward, but he breaks it down into the first 5 verses consisting of a complaint, a description of the enemies facing the psalmist. Secondly, condemnation, verses 6 through 9, a prayer that God will interpose and render justice against them. And then the last 2 verses, a conclusion, right? The exaltation of the righteous. So you kind of break it down again. Personally, I read this one. I don't know that it really needs that much of an outline, because again, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward in its thought. But we'll go through, and as we work our way through it, you're going to see these various images and metaphors that he used. The JPS version noted that there were 7 of them. I guess it kind of depends upon how you count as you go through. I can see how they get that number, and if that is indeed the case, then it certainly fits, as we've noted before many times in the Old Testament. When you're going through and you see repeated thoughts or repeated phrases, a lot of times in the prophets, you'll have these large sections where they're delivering. It's often called burdens against the nations, to the Egyptians, and it'll give this long list of condemnation and consequences, and then to Tyre, and then to the Syrians and so forth. Oftentimes it'll be in sets of 7. So if you kind of work your way through this and you find seven curses, really, or 7 imprecatory, I guess request might be the right word, then they would certainly fit that model well. So he starts out, do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye lay the violence of your hands in the earth. So starting out right off the bat, dealing with wicked people who perpetuate violence. And we're going to, in this psalm, what does David think should happen with them? We're about to find out. Verse 3, the wicked are estranged from the womb, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And I guess perhaps a tiny bit of the kind of Calvinistic thoughts some attribute to Psalm 51:5 there, but maybe not quite as much. I think the idea here isn't so much that they're literally born wicked as it is they are just so vile, they are so bad that it's a poetic expression, right? It's like from the time you came into this world, it's like you came out of the womb, you were born, and 5 minutes later you were already going off doing wicked things. You're that bad. So I don't know that it's meant to be taken literally. For that matter, I don't think Psalm 51:5 is meant to be taken literally. But that's another concern that we already touched upon. So verse 4, here we go. We start in with these very vivid images, again, involving nature for the most part, some of them involving particular animals. He says, their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Verse 6, you gotta love this one. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. As a snail which melteth, right? You think about, the little slug going along and some salt falls on him and he just vaporizes. As the snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away. Like the untimely birth of a woman, and by that phrase he's referring to stillbirth, that they may not see the sun. Before your pots can feel the thorns, he shall take them away as with the whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. So you almost feel compelled to ask, David, why don't you tell us how you really feel? A very, very raw thing. And as I've said many a time, because we're working through 1 Samuel and we see it, one of the things I love about David, and this actually applies to the last two Psalms we've covered as well, you get the whole picture, warts and all, right? Back in Psalm 57 that we last looked at, David in Philistia, he says twice in the psalm, I'm not going to fear what any man can do to me. I will not fear what flesh can do to me. And yet, both times in 1 Samuel, we find him going to the Philistines. He goes there because he's afraid of what a man may do to him. And when he gets there, he's afraid of how another man is going to react to his being there. And yet, despite that, we find the expression of faith and confidence in that psalm. And just this, I guess, either this past Sunday or the one before, I don't recall. We talked in our Bible class about this idea of, is it possible to be afraid and fearless at the same time? And I think all agreed, certainly it's possible to be afraid and yet to move forward and do what you need to do without fear. So we have that. Here in Psalm 58, we find very real, and if we're honest with ourselves, who among us hasn't been in a position where you were being sorely abused? You may even, as in David's case, have someone out to kill you for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. And you cry out for vengeance. I have noted here in my margin two passages. One is 2 Thessalonians 1, 7 through 9, in which Paul writes about the Lord coming in flaming fire and vengeance, dealing judgment to those who haven't obeyed the Lord, who know not the gospel. And I've also noted here Revelation 6, 9, and 10. That's the scene in Revelation where you have martyred saints who were pictured under the throne, crying out for vengeance. How long is this slaughter of the Lord's people on earth going to continue before God steps in and does something and avenges them against those who have done so wrong to them and executes judgment upon them. So Psalm 58 is certainly not the only kind of place you find this kind of thought. It's not even just in the Old Testament that you find this kind of thought. You find it in the New Testament as well. How do you square that with the Sermon on the Mount? Bless those who curse you. Rather than what you find here. As I said, we are given David's life in particular, but he's not the only one. But we're given the entire thing, warts and all. We find we find tremendous expressions of faith and trust in God, certainly in Psalms, probably more than anywhere else. But we also find things like this that are very real. We find his biographical narrative, if you will, in 1st and 2nd Samuel, warts and all, his successes as well as his failures. I think what you find in the New Testament, with Jesus in particular, is the Son of God coming into this world to set and exemplify the highest possible standard. Bless them that curse you, right? That is not an easy thing to do. It is his expectation, and again, he set the example for it. But again, who amongst us does not at times have the same kind of sentiment that we find on David's part here? It's real. It's human. So oftentimes in the New Testament, I think the Sermon on the Mount in particular, you don't always have so much him coming, Jesus coming, and expressing something that is truly new and novel, so much as you find him offering explanation and setting a standard. As I've mentioned many times before, you've heard it said that you should not commit adultery, but I tell you, if you lust after a woman in your heart, you've already committed it. Is he taking something that was challenging to do and making it even harder to do? I don't think that's the case. I think he's pointing out that it's always been that way. This is nothing new, right? But he's explaining it's always been about the heart and about having control over the heart and ensuring that you have the right thing there, and then the actions follow. It's similar in John 13. He tells his apostles, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. That's not new, right? I mean, you find that umpteen times in the Old Testament. Nothing new. What is new about it, however, is what immediately follows. You need to love one another the same way that I've loved you. As I've loved you, love you one another. Again, he's exemplifying something to a degree and in a way that it never had been before. So yeah, I don't know that a passage like Psalm 58, coming from David, a man after God's own heart, necessarily gives one license to just say things about others like "break their teeth, O God, in their mouth." I do think it's very honest and very real that we may sometimes feel that way. However, as Christians, we look to Jesus Christ and his teachings, his doctrine, the example that he set for us, and we find, bless them that curse you. There are plenty of times you may feel like the exact opposite. They curse me, I want to curse them right back. Break their teeth in their mouth, Lord. But he says, no. That is not the proper way to respond. Again, David shows us that even a man after God's own heart at times understood what it was like to have that sentiment. And then wrapping the psalm up, verses 10 and 11, the righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. Here's another thought for you, clearly imprecatory. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Again, I would refer you to 2 Thessalonians 1, Revelation 6. Similar thoughts there. So that a man shall say, verily there is a reward for the righteous, verily he is a God that judgeth in the earth. Right, people are going to know that God looks out, and coming back to the idea there in Revelation, in the end, God wins. God's people are going to be vindicated. The righteous are going to be judged accordingly, and the wicked are going to be punished accordingly. So that is Psalm 58 in a nutshell. Lord willing, next time we will come back and we will continue on with Psalm 59. Thank you very much for your attention today.
Over all the earth you reign on high, every mountain stream, every sunset sky. But my one request, Lord, my only aim, is that you'd reign in me again. Lord, reign in me, reign in your power, over all my dreams. In my darkest hour, you are the Lord of all I am. So won't you reign in me again? Over every thought, over May my life reflect the beauty of my Lord, 'cause you mean more to me than any earthly thing. So won't you reign in me again, Lord, reign in me, reign in your power over all my dreams. In my darkest hour, you are the Lord of all I am. So won't you reign in me again, Lord, reign in me, reign in your power over all my dreams. In my darkest hour, you are the Lord of all I am. So won't you reign